It's a real fake news update, not brought to you by Pfizer. We're looking today at RFK Jr. and over the last week, what has been accomplished. There's been a massive shakeup at the CDC. We know the mainstream media has been doing their job at confusing people, getting you scared about the wrong thing, not reporting accurately on what's really going on. So let's look at, well, first, a couple of the clips of what we consider he was definitely bamboozled. He was definitely set up to fail when he went into this committee. And it felt like this was last week. And we didn't get a chance to cover this. So we're going to show you a couple clips. And you guys may have seen this where they stuck their attack dogs on him. And I say they, I mean the establishment. I mean the people who we never would have guessed 15 years ago would behave this way. But we know the game now. We know that the dogs you stick on him, the dogs are Bernie and Elizabeth Warren. Let's look at some of the highlights and see how RFK actually responded to this, good or bad. And then, of course, the media spin after that. And what's it all leading to? So first up, here's Elizabeth Warren. You guys might have seen this. This got pretty nasty. Here we go.
Effectively denying people vaccines.
We're not going to recommend a product for which there's no clinical data for that indication. Is that what I should be doing?
What you should be doing is honoring your promise that you made when you were looking to get confirmed in this job.
You're going like this.
That is, you promised that you would not take away vaccines from anyone who wanted them. You just changed the classification of the COVID vaccine.
I'm not taking them away from people, Senator.
It takes it away if you can't get it from your pharmacist.
Well, most Americans are going to be able to get it from their pharmacy for free. Most Americans will be able to get it from their pharmacy for free.
The question is, everyone who wants it, that was your promise.
I know I didn't. I never.
So, yeah, first of all, if you guys remember, he was bullied into promising a lot of things that really pissed off the Maha group. We followed that pretty closely. So she's like, we bullied you back then. We made you say it. And now you have to keep your word. But the problem is he actually is keeping his word. The problem is Elizabeth Warren trying to confuse people. And this is by design. Her job is to make you think that you're not going to be able to get your vaccine anymore. And we see it. We see all of the shit libs freaking the hell out. By the way, I'm not airing this right now on our LA channel here because I know a lot of them are pissed off. And I just do not need the personal attacks on this one because we are calling this out. This is by design. She's designed to make people think that she's the progressive voice. And you're going to hear Bernie in a second. I'll play that one. But she's the progressive voice. And RFK Jr. is the one keeping you from having options. No, he's taking away the mandate and only in certain situations. That's the thing. He's not even doing that much. That's the real problem here. And again, he's being bamboozled. He didn't come in here to have to defend the moves he's made with the CDC, the switch outs, the very minimal changes he's made in the vaccine schedule and the who is going to be targeted, who is going to have an option to not get the shot. That's the only things he's really been doing. And I get it. The firing is a good thing. Obviously, you're giving the mainstream a lot of material because they can be like, how dare he? And we've seen all that. But I don't know if he was expecting to be treated this way when he walked in there. He's trying to put together something of an autism report. That's what this is about. And they want to stop that from happening unless he can get through this. Then they will embrace it and they'll figure out another way to fake everyone out. So this is a game that they're playing back and forth. See how long he can last playing this game of deception. And he has to be deceptive too, because he has to say things he doesn't want to say in order to get to where he needs to go. So the whole thing is one big game. We've been following it the whole time, but here's a little more of Elizabeth Warren, and then I'll get to Bernie.
Promise that I was going to recommend products with which there is no indication.
When you said,
and I know you've taken $855,000 from pharmaceutical companies, Senator.
Did you hold up a big sign saying that you were lying when you said that, because you are the one who said you would not take them away. Now, Senator Kennedy,
I'm not taking them away from anybody.
Secretary,
you want me to indicate a product for which there is no clinical data?
Senator,
is that what you want?
Secretary Kennedy, you said you wouldn't, and now you did.
I'm not taking them away. Everybody can get access to them.
No, they can't walk into a pharmacy the way they could last month and get access.
It depends on the states.
A year ago,
but they can still get it. Everybody can get it. Everybody can get it, Senator.
So look, let's move on. You clearly are taking away vaccines. I've seen the list for what's coming up next, and
wow, I got to give her credit. I mean, she really takes the orders and goes all in. It's fascinating that she just has to insist, and that, again, this is her job, to pretend that she's representing the people when she's really just trying to confuse and make people scared. When no, you can absolutely get whatever vaccine you want. Believe me, RFK Jr. cannot get these off the shelf. This is the whole big problem, is that we haven't been able to get these off the shelves, and she's acting like that they're off. Okay, let's hear a little bit of the Bernie fiasco, because this guy, oh man, he is the absolute worst. Here we go.
Single Republican, I don't mean to be political here, Mr. Chairman, has received PAC money from the pharmaceutical industry. Are they all corrupt as well?
And I'm telling you, the American Heart Association has been co-opted by the food
Everybody
industry.
but you, Senator. But you know what? When you ran for president, we have a corrupt campaign finance system. Maybe you will agree with me on that.
How is it that, I mean, you guys are noticing this, right? How is it that Bernie, the guy who ran on, we're taking on the oligarchy, we're taking, he literally said back in 2016, we're taking on big pharma. We're taking on, so this corruption of big pharma, how are you taking it on? And I wonder why RFK Jr. doesn't just say that right back. Just say that right back. Somebody should have coached him. I don't think he did the greatest job here. I get the whole let's memorize people's the money they took. And he did nail Elizabeth Warren, but she didn't. She just pretended he didn't say it. That's what she did. She pretended he didn't say it. He got the words out. He's doing it again here. Bernie is actually putting his own foot in his mouth when he says, are you saying that the entire system is corrupt? Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what, so he needed to be ready for that, because Bernie set himself up to take a fall. But I don't think RFK went in for the kill on this. He had all the tools in front of him to make the kill. Bernie gave it to him. Bernie said, are you saying that the whole thing is corrupt? Not only am I saying it's all corrupt, but you've become a complete joke yourself, Bernie, because you used to say this. You used to say this. Now you're taking X amount of money, and Elizabeth Warren's taking this amount of money. So he has those numbers, but he's not fully convincing us that yes, Bernie just said the quiet part out loud. Unfortunately, yeah, he's not coming back with that kill shot. It's not happening.
Okay, you were already president. You got a billionaire behind it. You received $300,000 from people, not from the industry, people in it, as I did, from individuals. You corrupt. President Trump got $3 million. Every Republican got corporate PAC money for the pharmaceutical industry. Democrats as well. Everybody is corrupt, but you? Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, as long as we're not talking about Israel. Yeah, I'm kind of clean with the pharma money. Yeah. Now, if you want to talk about the compromising I had to do to get into my job, I'll admit that's kind of corrupt. But as far as taking the money and representing big pharma, which everybody in this room is doing except him, yeah, he should have doubled down on that. He really should have. Yeah, that's so unfortunately. And look, I'll just tell you guys what this really was about. This is what it really was about. He's actually, and this is why we had the shakeup at the CDC. He was trying to get the right people in place. We warned him about this from the beginning, that the people are going to drag their feet. Even if you get better people in there, they're still going to drag their feet. This is what he wants. He wants to take the autism thing on head on and he has a report that's due out this month. This could be very soon, in the next few days even. So they're trying to smear him one more time before this autism report comes out. Here is a fake coverage of that MSNBC put out on their site. MSNBC, MSNB now or later, or never, MSNB never, says, in seeking something to blame for autism, RFK Jr. wrongly attacks Tylenol. So here we go. This is the narrative that RFK Jr. has no case to link autism to any problems regarding the pharma industry. This is their job, is to tell us it has nothing to do with whether it's Tylenol, whether it's any sort of vaccine. It has nothing to do with nothing. It just is. Okay. So here's how they smear him. We know this. We know that this was coming. But again, that's the timing here, that they want to make him as ridiculously sounding as possible before this report comes out, which he will put out. What will be in this report? Is it only going to be this Tylenol comparison? I hope it's more than this. I really do, because there's a lot more going on than Tylenol. But anyways, the news from the Wall Street Journal on Friday that HHS Secretary RFK Jr. plans to announce a link between Tylenol use during pregnancy and autism in children is a return to a, here we go, regrettable past when autism was routinely blamed on something mothers had or hadn't done. So this is the victim shaming analysis that makes you not look into the stuff that we're putting into our bodies, right? This is the whole I'm loud and proud. Don't make fun. Don't say anything about my weight. How about what are you putting in your body to make you unhealthy, to make you not in a good place where you're not going to live long? You're going to have a lot of health complications. So this is the whole thing. You're not allowed to talk about the victims of the food and pharma corruption. You can't talk about that. Okay, so that's what they're going back to this. Here we go. More than 80 years ago, autism, and this is what you do. You make the straw man case. You come up with the most insane argument on your opposition to make you look like you have a case. That's the oldest trick in the book. They're doing it right here. More than 80 years ago, autism was blamed on a presumed lack of affection from parents. Well, that sounds dumb. That means the next thing you say has to be true, right? MSNB never. Later, Kennedy would help whip up public sentiment that autism is caused by vaccines. Can you believe the guy? A product that has no liability, a product that doesn't have to show any results of any sort of controlled placebo test results ever? Really? What's the nerve of him for making any sort of suggestion? The science doesn't show that. It also doesn't show it's caused by, and this is the ingredient in Tylenol. In fact, doctors and scientists say it's safe to take it during pregnancy. But of course, Kennedy is reported to argue that this active ingredient in Tylenol, which is also found in other over-the-counter pain medications, is a culprit. The journal also says Kennedy plans to promote folate as an autism treatment. So that's what this whole thing has been about. And now let's see the real smears coming when you turn on MSNBC and you see this guy, John Ossoff, on Jen Psaki's show, really sending you guys a message of how this guy needs to be what? Removed. He's not fit to be HHS secretary. And there's a lot of people who think that he's going to be out really, really soon. I think he's going to actually hold on a bit, but there's definitely been a massive attempt and a lot of money spent on getting him removed. I think he might hold on, but this is the type of attacks you're going to see if you turn on MSNB never. Here it is.
Kennedy is demolishing our entire public health infrastructure. It is negligence. It is, I think, willful and malicious in some cases. I think he holds these scientists and doctors in contempt. He has a chip on his shoulder and an axe to grind. And he has no business leading the Department of Health and Human Services.
Have you seen enough? Do you think he should resign?
Absolutely, he should resign. And he never should have been confirmed to begin with. He is utterly unqualified for this role. And in any normal Senate, he never would have gotten so much as a hearing. I mean, this is someone who throughout his public life has embraced just about every piece of quackery and pseudoscience that he's come across. He needs to step down. What he is doing at HHS is gross mismanagement that is putting this nation at risk. And the demolition of the CDC has lowered our nation's defenses against deadly disease outbreak and is putting lives at risk. Secretary Kennedy must resign.
There you go. There you go. So that's an active narration coming from mainstream to get rid of RFK Jr. You can guarantee the money has been put into the efforts to do that. I have hope he's going to remain, but that hope is limited hope. That's about keeping, I would say, half of Trump's base hopeful themselves and not revolting, right? Because you got to keep half of the base happy, right? That's a thing. So if he gets removed, there's going to be protest. And so I think they're trying to see how far they can go with it, but let's see what happens when this autism report comes out. But just, we need to say, look, as long as you're fighting this, RFK, you have to get a little better at your arguments. There was a moment, I didn't play the clip, but if there was a moment when Bernie asked you, who are your sources? And all you did was mention Jay Bhattacharya. You mentioned Dr. Mark, the other, the people you handpicked and put into positions. You didn't name any studies or clinics. That's what Bernie was able to capitalize on you because you only named a handful of people. And then he degraded you for, oh, you only have a couple doctors when the whole community is behind the state narrative. What he should have done was mention what he knew this. And I don't know why he didn't talk about the Cleveland Clinic study. It's the most obvious, simple testament to if you get a jab, you are more likely to get COVID. It's as clear as day. If you get 2 jabs, you're even more likely to get COVID. There's nothing as clear and straightforward as the Cleveland Clinic study. Here's a clip from a breakdown of it, and he's seen this. He knows this. He should have fought back. This is just one example of one thing he could have done, just to put it out in the hemisphere, just to put it out there in the lexicon of the transcript of everything horrible that went down last week. He could have said the Cleveland Clinic study.
Dvorak said, remember this, the Cleveland study? We went over this extensively. Each one of those lines is one of the most perfect dose response curves you could ever hope to have. And what it says is that your chance of coming down with these lineages, so this is original Omicron back here. Now here we're in the XBB lineages and all that out here in Omicron. But if you had 0 doses, you're only this likely to get COVID, which is less likely than if you'd had 1 dose, which is less likely than if you'd had 2 doses, less likely than if you'd had 3 doses and then 4 doses. This is from the Cleveland clinics. I mean, they have 68,000 people working in their clinic area in a very large medical complex in Cleveland. And they tested them and regressed those number of shots they'd had against, did they come down with COVID or COVID-like symptoms? And this is really embarrassing. This is really clear data. Apparently, Senator Hassan does not know that. But what's really at stake here? What's really being exposed? There's so much more.
Okay, so that's just one example. What's another thing he could have talked about? I don't know. Maybe the hepatitis B being on the childhood schedule, which makes no effing sense at all. Do you know who talked very eloquently about this? He's been on our show, Dr. Kirk Moore. He recently went on Tucker to talk about it. And Tucker, I guess maybe he didn't know the details on this one, how ridiculously horrible it is that this has been on our childhood schedule for so many years and nobody's done anything about it. This should be just this one example. Here's Dr. Kurt Moore on with Tucker Carlson. Check it out.
Even now, day one of birth. Okay. Day one of birth.
You were an at-risk person because you were dealing with body fluids as a physician.
Correct.
Right. And you can be infected. But why? But now, in the 35 years since, it's required for every child born in the United States.
Yes. They get one on day one of birth. They get another one a month later, and they get another one 6 months later. And that's because it's a captive audience. That's the only reason. How many babies are going to be IV drug abusers or go out have unprotected sex? Or get a blood transfusion from somebody who's infected? And by the way, some of the pediatricians will tell you, well, mom could have had hepatitis B, and therefore you're trying to, prevent the baby from getting it. Well, mom was tested for hepatitis during her pregnancy. So you would have known if they had hepatitis and hepatitis B. And so then you would have been able to either treat it or do something about it, or maybe prophylax the baby.
Why would pediatricians go along with that?
To put it bluntly, money.
Why are they allowed to practice medicine with those attitudes? No, I'm serious. Why doesn't the FBI raid their offices? If they're giving infants treatment that the infant doesn't need, that has potentially harmful consequences, and they're doing it for money, then they're criminals.
Yeah. Tucker, you're realizing that's our entire setup of our entire healthcare system is set up this way. We've been screaming about this forever. We've been talking about the financial incentives for boosting people and getting them the jab and getting them, not to mention the COVID deaths and everything. The number, as the higher you can get the numbers, the more money you get in your pocket. So the incentive is to push and push and sell and sell. These are drug pushers. That's what they are. Our entire system is set up this way. In pediatrics, any hospital, any doctor's office is working directly with the drug cartel and representing that cartel as a drug pusher to make money. And Tucker's asking, why don't they just get arrested? Because it's legalized drug cartel, drug dealing. That's what it is. It's legalized. So again, RFK Jr. could indicate any of these, and I don't know how they'd respond. I mean, they could do what they do every time and pretend he didn't say it, try and switch the question. But it's about getting it on the record. And it is really too bad that he couldn't get that one on the record. I'm just gonna play a little of this clip because this is Dr. Drew standing up on behalf of RFK Jr., who's also better, just like Dr. Kirk Moore. Dr. Drew is also seemingly more articulate about making the point, even when they're being attacked. And I think that this was a situation where Dr. Drew did a fine job of taking on a 2-against-1, led by Chris Cuomo, the guy you can never trust. This guy, Chris Cuomo, never trust this guy. I don't care that he left CNN. And he said, "Oh, all those people over there, they were horrible. Now I'm on my own. I didn't do anything wrong when I was over at CNN." Yes, you did. You can't admit to even saying I effed up. I said wrong information. I knew it was wrong, and I told people lies, and I hurt them. He can't do that, but he can try and push back at Dr. Drew, who's saying, no, this is what there is no taking away vaccines. This is about taking away the mandate. And you have to shout it at these people because they just don't want to listen.
Florida standing up and saying no vaccines are going to be recommended. None.
Chris, he said no mandates. Do you have the bio?
He said they're not going to be required. Drew, hold on, Drew. I'm going to bounce this to Jessica. I know, Drew, and you're telling me that you think as a question of science, and I'm going to let Jessica answer it right now because she's more qualified. But if your position is, oh, yeah, you don't need to make kids have to take certain vaccines to go to school, it'll be okay, just leave it to their doctors, I don't buy that at all, and our experience doesn't buy it. But, Jess, you give your take, and then Drew can respond.
Okay.
I mean, I think this is interesting that this happens all the time. What a lot of people will do is they'll say, oh, we don't have the data, we don't have the science, kind of relying on people to not know that we do have a lot of good data to establish these recommendations. I mean, Dr. Drew brought up the Hep B vaccine. Experts in that area consistently discuss how we have good data and why the Hep B vaccine is given. And I mean, even Senator Cassidy was having a debate this week.
Is a child going to go out and step on a needle? Is a child going to use IV drugs? Is a child going to have sex with a drug user? Is the child's mother have hepatitis B? No, because we test for that. Why are we giving hepatitis B vaccine? And again, bioethics matter. Bioethical standing is that nobody is harmed by what we do to them. That's a bioethical mandate. Yes, we want to protect others, but we first must do no harm.
Great. Well said, Dr. Drew. And so, yeah, I guess maybe RFK Jr. got to where he is because he tiptoes around these things. He doesn't go in for the kill like these other doctors do. And that's why they're not in the position of Health and Human Services Secretary, which would be awesome if Dr. Drew would be our HHS Secretary, or Dr. Kirk Moore, our HHS Secretary. That would be a step up. So there's a reason maybe they allowed him in. It's because he's not being as articulate and going in for the kill on these arguments. I mean, you saw, I mean, that Chris Cuomo, he's no better than Bernie or Elizabeth Warren. I'm not exactly sure what job he's trying to keep when I guess he's supposed to be independent. Is he thinking independently? Who's he representing? But these are people that are just, you gotta shout it back at them. You have to interrupt them and tell them you're lying. You're lying. The mandate the mandate is the only thing I'm fighting. You can still get your vaccines. You have to interrupt them and tell them they're lying. That's how you have to do it. But then maybe you can't get the job at that point. So that's maybe the only reason he's in there. But I will end the segment with this for real fake news. CNN can't ignore the polls, and CNN has to show us that regardless of everything we've seen RFK Jr. go through and everything they have lied to us about him he's still very, very liked. Check out this poll.
Popular of all the key officials that we have recent polling on. Pete Hegseth, his net favorable minus 14 points. J.D. Vance, minus 11. Marco Rubio, minus 10. RFK Jr. is at minus 7, but minus 7 beats minus 10, beats minus 11, beats minus 14. So, no, RFK Jr. is not a drag on President Trump. He's not the most embattled. In fact, he is the most popular official in Trump's cabinet, at least according to the polling.
There it is. There it is. They have to tell us that. So, I mean, maybe that's why they're doubling down on ridiculing him, setting him up, bamboozling him. Maybe that is why. That is why. And there's always a timing element. We always have to look at the timing of everything. But no, I don't think he was expecting to have another round, another go at it with Bernie and Elizabeth Warren. I thought we'd seen enough of that, but I guess they got to stick the dogs on them. So Bernie, Elizabeth Warren, that's their job. They wait for the phone call. Time to stick the dogs at him. And they go, you got it, boss. You got it, boss. Right there. We're right there for you. And that's a real fake news update. Not brought to you by Pfizer. Okay, let me take a moment to introduce you to our good friends over at World Harvest Food Bank right here in LA. World Harvest has been serving families across Los Angeles for 18 years now, and they started with this simple idea. Everyone deserves access to healthy, affordable food no matter what they're going through. With their Cart with a Heart program, families can walk away with a full cart of groceries, fresh produce, dairy, meat, and pantry supplies for just a $50 contribution. That's for the entire cart. That same cart will cost over $300 at a typical grocery store. At World Harvest, everyone is welcome. They don't ask for income verification, ID, or any paperwork. No. Basically, their doors are open to anyone who's doing their best, but just needs a little extra push to get by. If you're an Angelino like me, you know the times have been tough here. First with all the union strikes, the LA fires, and now the ICE raids going on. It seems like we're living in a constant state of uncertainty. And that's why it's so important to support local charities like World Harvest, because they aren't just helping the community. They're an essential function in its very survival. World Harvest is located at Venice and Arlington. And right now, you can use our special discount code THL20 for 20% off your contribution amount at checkout. And if you're not in the LA area, you can still help out with a $50 donation, which will provide a full cart of food for a family by going to worldharvestfoodbank.org or scan the QR code for more info. Or you can just spread the word. Follow them online. Let people know they're here for them, because at the end of the day, it's about providing choice, access, and relief without barriers. World Harvest Food Bank. End hunger now.